myself the vision passing by in crystal and in rose. Day unto day doth utter speech, and night to night proclaim. In ever-changing words of light, the wonder of thy name. Welcome in.
Good morning. Good morning. There we go. I'm going to share these opening words from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Savage. We gather today with sacred intention to declare that justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that it is possible. Not here, not quite yet. The seeds have been planted time and again, and we remember all those who went before us, who made beloved community a dream that could be realized. Justice is our prayer. May our time of worship together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time of worship give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive, that embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that it is possible. May it be so. Let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Sauter, and I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee. I would like to welcome you to People's Church with this reading. Come in from the wind. On this day, as with so many Sundays, we come in from the whirling world. The wind, the bright sun, the push and pull of tides and time. From the tumult of global news and local stories, the pain we hear of, the demands on our spirits, the do this now culture that we live in. We come into this sanctuary from that windstorm. The rush of speeding drivers on the roadways, the rustling silence that fills some of our homes, the vastness of a once busy and perhaps now quieter house. All of this can leave us feeling stirred and unsettled. When we give our attention to what's going on around and beyond us in this throbbing world, we can feel wind blown. We need places where we can come and find our grounding once again. Come in from the wind, come in from the whirl. Few announcements. Our guest speaker today is Cristy Cardinal, they, them, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister recently welcomed into preliminary fellowship. They currently serve as a chaplain resident at Secours Mercy Health St. Vincent Hospital in Toledo, Ohio. They are a 2023 graduate of Starr King School for the ministry, and their faith is liberatory with love at the center. Today is specialty classes for the K through sixth graders, and they're going to meet in the Buddha room. Preschool, middle, and high schoolers will meet in their regular classrooms. And believe it or not, there are still a few specialty items and pasties still left, and you can pick those up in the foyer if any of those interest you. It's time to light our chalice. If Mara would please come. Oh, nope, it's not. We're going to sing.
I invite you all to rise and body your spirit to sing our opening song together this morning. Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and light. We of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Now it's time to light the chalice, if Mara would like to come forward. If you're lighting a chalice at home, I invite you to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit in your community." Our poem today is called Chalice Lighting on Thresholds by Florence Kaplaw. Reverend Florence Kaplaw is the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign in Urbana, Illinois. She is also a writer, editor, and ordained Zoto Zen priest. Chalice lighting on thresholds. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, and dreaming. And chalices are lit.
A second in the Millwood neighborhood. On Gordneck Lake in Portage, on 41st and a half Street, in Parkview Hills, and in Galesburg. A second in Parkview Hills. Texas Township, in Paw Paw, a chalice in Sheboygan, and another in Paw Paw. How great it is to be together in time when we can't be together in space.
People's Church is a community that supports one another. One of the ways we do that is when we gather, we invite people to share joys, sorrows, and milestones of their lives. If you have something to share and you are on Zoom, please type it in the chat box. If you're in person, please come forward, speak briefly, share your name, and place a stone in the water. If you don't want to share what's going on, you can simply state your name and put a stone in. We'll pause the recording now for confidentiality. A few more stones for those joys, sorrows, triumphs, and milestones we are holding in our heart today. Those that are in our wider community, and those in our wider world. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work and watch and weep this day. May the suffering be soothed, may the weary find rest, may the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. May the joyous be shielded, and may all of us know we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. And now I believe we're going to sing the kids to their specialty classes.
Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
People's Church knows that your financial contributions come from sacrifice and hard work. As a church, we commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for our neighbors and our world. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this church. May we give in love and gratitude.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
Invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Maybe place your feet firmly on the ground. Relax your body, lower your shoulders, maybe close your eyes if you'd like, or soften your gaze. And I share this prayer from my colleague Dana Edwards. Spirit of life and love, times are tough and trepidation swirls in our hearts. Groceries are expensive and our paychecks don't go as far as they used to. Incendiary words drip off the lips of our politicians and sow division in our nation. People we love are lost to hateful rhetoric and dubious conspiracy theories. And still, there is hope. Through the generations, our democracy has been threatened and questioned and buffeted. Our government has not always lived up to its ideal of freedom for all. We are grateful for all those organizers, journalists, freedom fighters, clergy, and regular people who knew that the people of our nation are called to do better and be better. Those like Grace Lee Boggs, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, Dolores Huerta, Harriet Tubman, Viola Liuzzo, and so many others who knew that freedom isn't free, who saw the deep and intricate connections of the human web, who cared enough to show up and keep showing up, who loved the people of this nation enough to keep fighting for who we could be. They gave us hope. They gave us hope that even though our democracy isn't perfect, striving toward excellence in the way we care for the people of this nation, serve the people of this nation, and govern the people of this nation is a worthy and noble cause. Our faith also gives us hope, a faith that knows that transformation is a holy and sacred task, that affirms that the democratic process is a faithful act, that brings a generous heart and a lens of justice and liberation to all that we do, that values equality and equity and is centered in love. Our love gives us hope, a revolutionary love that challenges us to find the worth and dignity in those with whom we disagree, love that inspires us to amplify the voices that are often silenced, love that holds us when the work of liberation seems so daunting, a love so big it bears the heavy weight of complex humans with ease. Spirit of life, may love, hope, and wisdom guide us in our lifelong work toward liberation. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. Now I invite you to join me in a handful of breaths together.
Our reading today is an excerpt from Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds by Adrienne Maree Brown. Do you already know that your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and place around you? Not after or because you do some particular thing, but simply the miracle of your life. And that the people around you and the place or places have contributions as well. Do you understand that your quality of life and your survival are tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between you and the people and place you live with and in? Are you actively practicing generosity and vulnerability in order to make the connections between you and others clear, open, available, durable? Generosity here means giving of what you have without strings or expectations attached. Vulnerability means showing your needs. If you're feeling anxiety, let's feel those feelings, and let's invite others to show up with and for us. If we're feeling grief, let's feel those feelings, and let's invite others to show up with and for us. If we're feeling hope, let's feel those feelings, and let's invite others to show up with and for us. If we're feeling love, let's feel those feelings, and let's invite others to show up with for us and for us. And let's keep showing up with and for others too.
invite you to find a comfortable singing position in your seats to sing together. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning again. It is good to be with you, though I did take my life in my hands driving here this morning. So you're welcome for that. But I am happy to be here. This church is beautiful, and it is a lovely place to spend this morning with you. I see there are some folks from my home congregation here, which is very exciting to see them, and a little surprising. I hope it doesn't suck. Especially because they're going to be voting on ordaining me in a month or so. So let's hope. Fingers crossed, everybody. We're gonna do good stuff. You've probably heard a minister or two say that we're supposed to preach from our scars, not our wounds. And it means that we're supposed to process our feelings before we share them from the pulpit, right? Because we don't want to spill our guts on you. But sometimes we're experiencing trauma that is acute and chronic, and we don't have that kind of time. I find myself in such a situation lately. Since Election Day, I've been a barely contained ball of rage, with side dishes of despair and absolute terror. I'm queer, and I'm trans non-binary. One of my kids is brown. I've been out my entire adult life, which is not a small amount of time. To be clear, things weren't great before the first Tuesday in November either, right? Queers, people of color, immigrants, not to mention our Palestinian kin, could tell stories upon stories about systems and policies curtailing our liberation that have been around for a long while. Yet on Election Day, whatever hope I'd held on to for something better dissipated. Just poof. And frankly, I'm still not quite ready to talk about being hopeful or organizing. I'm still grieving and feeling the rage and despair and terror. I did renew my passport, took my kids to get theirs, and looked into the cost of living in Norway. It's about the same as Ann Arbor, if you're wondering. but I don't have a lot of hope right now. But I'm still going to share this message about conflict and community because I fundamentally still believe in the power of showing up for one another. But please hear me that in the near and distant future, when a queer person or an immigrant or a person of color or anyone being targeted asks you for help, do it. It may mean breaking the law, it may mean lying to authority, or other things you might just be uncomfortable with. What the Nazis did was fully legal in Germany, right? Hiding Anne Frank and her family was a crime. So I want you to think about that. Please, please be a co-conspirator. Be a warrior for justice and liberation who puts their own privilege and maybe their own body on the line. Because that's how we all get free. And I need you. I need you. All right, I've already rolled up my sleeves, but now we're going to get down to business. I used to believe that when someone in our community made grievous errors or hurt someone else's feelings in that community, my obligation was to kick them out, right? I believed there were some transgressions we could not ignore, and we should do our best to keep everyone else safe by kicking those folks out or barring their future participation. Two things changed that belief for me. First, I became a Unitarian Universalist. And second, it happened to me. Not that long ago, I learned that someone I had been in an organizing group with over 20 years ago was holding a grudge against me. I'd apparently treated her and a friend of hers unkindly in some interaction or another regarding that group's finances. I'm here to tell you I have almost no memory of the specific event, though I do remember some tension, right? I had pretty much been living in some kind of blissful ignorance of this person's burning hot coal of resentment for me for decades. I found out through in-common friends who mentioned it in a passing, everybody kind of knows this way. They even let me know that she had asked people not to invite me to events and conversations afterward. And I heard a record scratch sound. I couldn't believe that she had held on to this thing that I barely remembered, telling who knows how many people that I treated her poorly and was not to be trusted or held in community. I don't know, but and I suppose I won't ever find out. True confessions, I found it hard to not be defensive. And I still do to some extent. I generally try to operate from the perspective that other people's opinions of me are none of my business, unless they bring them to me to discuss. But this felt bigger or different in some way. I'm not going to deny that I treated her poorly. Again, I don't remember the incident. And in my early to mid-20s, I was a more hard-edged, obnoxious punk whose frontal lobe had barely finished coalescing. I very well may have said something out of line, many somethings out of line. I had no life experience. I'd hardly held a job yet. I had not found my faith. I hadn't been married and divorced twice. I hadn't parented or done any of the myriad things that give us humility and grace and tact. What's true is that my heart had yet to grow into my body, had yet to fill in the cracks of my own hurt. And I am certain that there were times back then that I said and did things that my current self would be appalled by, things that hurt others with little to no repair. Truly, I probably weekly say my gratitude that there was no Instagram or Facebook or Blue Sky in my 20s. Truly. I engaged in the work of that community because I cared about what they were doing for queer folks. And because it was a small subset of an already small group, anyone who cared was immediately recruited into leadership. Does that sound familiar to anyone? They didn't care much that I had no idea what I was doing because I kept showing up. And showing up was what mattered. And in the midst of that showing up, I hurt this person. I hurt someone with whom I was in community. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm also sorry and sad for whatever I did to make her think she couldn't talk to me. And honestly, that's probably what I'm the most sad about. Because had she just talked to me, if we had just sat together and discussed the issue, decades of hurt could have been prevented. That burning hot coal in her hand could have cooled off and saved her from injury, right? Who knows what opportunities we lost, what our community lost because we did not address the issue head on. 50-year-old me may not be any smarter than I was 25 years ago, but I am sure of a few things. I'm sure that no one is disposable. No one is disposable. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone is free to behave in whatever ways they want. All people have inherent worth and dignity. All behavior or opinions do not. Right? In the beloved community to which we aspire, we do not have the luxury of throwing people out when their actions make us angry or even when they hurt our feelings. If we truly want to be in right relationship, we must face up to our conflicts. For the record, I'm speaking about inside these walls, inside our faith. There is other work to be done out on the streets and in community that is different, that will look different and feel different. And I am certainly not encouraging anyone to do things that will put them in harm's way when it comes to the current political climate. I'm talking about getting our own house in order. Because we need one another to survive. We really, really do. Now more than ever. And I know this because of my faith. I'm going to take a small detour. Not icy roads, we'll be fine. I want to talk about the transcendentalists like Emerson for a minute. Well, maybe a couple minutes. To be completely transparent with you, my undergraduate degree is in English language and literature. And so when I got to seminary and had to read Emerson again, I was really mad. I wanted nothing to do with that guy because I find his writing to be arrogant and inaccessible on purpose. And that was before I started evaluating his work through a theological lens. So, being transparent, I'm going to talk about him anyway. Transcendentalism, if you need a refresher, was a spiritual movement of the early 19th century of which a, quote, core belief is the inherent goodness of people and nature. And while society and its institutions have corrupted the purity of the individual, people at their best when truly self-reliant and independent. Self-reliant? Independent? Sounds a little like the opposite, right, of needing one another. Well, I have an argument for that. Because much like the Bible, Emerson's words have been misinterpreted and used for other folks' agendas since he wrote them. Emerson was not foretelling the rugged individualism that American capitalism encourages. Rather, he said we didn't need an intermediary to experience the divine. He encouraged us to rely on our own human intuition to deepen our spirituality instead of specially anointed interpreters of God's word, they said as a minister from a pulpit in a church. So it's not we don't need each other, but we can define our faith for ourselves. Transcendentalists had both a 10,000-foot view and a hyper-local view of an individual's experience of the world. Because the world is dynamic, divinity is all around, and we are experiencing it in our own bodies. The 10,000-foot view shows us that we are moving in concert with each other, like a murmuration of starlings. Thanks for taking the detour. So you know icy roads. None at all. As I said earlier, the other reason I stopped thinking we needed to kick people out of community was I became a Unitarian Universalist. Learning my own faith, my own theology, taught me that we are all in this together, that we are all reliant on each other, and we create our own beloved community through our everyday actions. My heart moved into a holy place, and I received those blessings of love. Now, I support the closing of prisons and defunding the police. I am an abolitionist. Like one of the OG Universalists, Hosea Ballou. See, when you get a recent seminary grad, there's lots of history peppered in your sermons, so I hope that you enjoy that. I believe in the power of love and compassion to transform people and communities. And I know that punishment or the threat of punishment is not how we are going to convince or even coerce anyone to do the next right thing. When we punish people, we only teach them how to not get caught. It's a good short-term solution, I suppose, but isn't going to create the beloved community. The way I work to practice this in my daily life is that I don't act like a cop to the people around me. I don't police my beloveds, of which you are included. I do not get to choose who is welcome, because the welcome is unqualified. If we are building the beloved community and we are united in our struggle for collective liberation, we have to deal with our conflict directly. Conflict is not a reason to give up on getting free. In fact, the Reverend Cecilia Kingman taught me at last year's General Assembly that liberation is always costly. We will need to slog through the rough parts of community building. It may be cliche, but it doesn't make it any less true that the only way out is through. Another way I practice my abolitionist ideals in my daily life is to seek redemption when I have done wrong. I apologize to my children and ask them what I can do when I have strayed in my parenting ideals. As a Unitarian Universalist, I know that we are creating our own universal salvation right now. Hell and heaven, right now, we make it for ourselves. I don't try to make mistakes, but come on. We all do, right? I do try to avoid hurting people on purpose, and I also know I can't prevent either of them. I make mistakes, I hurt people on accident all the time. And when I do, and either I realize it or someone else points it out, I need to seek redemption. You know, we hear the word accountability a lot when it comes to causing hurt or making judgment errors. I don't hate that word, but I think we're confused by it collectively. Accountability doesn't mean punishment. It doesn't mean that the person who we perceive to be at fault has to be annihilated in some way. Accountability is just as much about repair as it is about consequences for our actions. You know, when my kids, I have twins, and when they were little, which seems like a million years ago and last week, all at the same time, they were taught in preschool, and we reinforced it at home, that when they hurt someone, they said, "I'm sorry, how can I help?" Because they didn't actually understand, "I'm sorry," but they knew what it meant to help someone. And that was showing repair. So we had to invest in quite a few ice packs, because that was always the "how can I help" answer. Even if it was like, bruised feelings. It's like, I need an ice pack, like we had a lot of them. And then I've had this conversation in other places, and sometimes I'm challenged with, well, what about people who are actually abusive or are preying on people? Do they deserve to be in the beloved community? There is a longer answer to that question, but my initial answer is that while we may need to create structures or boundaries for individual safety, universal means universal. If we start drawing the line to include some people but not others, who decides where the lines get drawn? None of this, by the way, is to say that we need to invite and welcome in people who mean us harm. That is certainly not how I feel right now. And even if I know that the way to teach empathy is to show empathy, it's not my job to comfort and care for people who want to legislate me out of existence. So I won't do that. It's somebody's job, but it's not mine, and it's likely not many of yours either. In her book, earlier quoted Adrienne Marie Brown, in her book, We Will Not Cancel Us, says that when someone does harm, we focus too narrowly on punishment and exclusion, which actually doesn't do anything to address the root cause of harm. Brown instead asks us to focus on transformative justice through reconciliation when appropriate and possible, and healing. Those things can only happen in community, not isolation. You can't have transformative justice as a solo person. And we can't do them if we're kicking people out before we even have the chance. Isolation will never create an opportunity for healing or growth because those happen in tandem with other people. The other thing we need to do is we need to actually ask ourselves, is this actually harm or is this conflict? Is it harm or is it conflict? Because we really overstate conflict as harm a lot. As underground writer and public intellectual Clementine Morrigan says, we conflate interpersonal conflict with interpersonal violence. And we do that to bolster our rejection or exclusion of someone. Here's the thing. Humans disagree. Humans hurt each other's feelings. Humans even break each other's hearts. I have done those things, and I'm sure most of you can think of a time when you have as well. Those are difficult and they hurt, but they are not abuse. Here's the best way I know how to tell you the difference. Conflict makes us nervous and uneasy, and abuse makes us terrified. That's the difference. They are categorically and emphatically different. Sarah Schulman, in her book, Conflict is Not Abuse, echoes what Brown and Morrigan and maybe even Ballou said. Schulman tells us that in many cases, we escalate conflict into an accusation of abuse because we are uncomfortable or feel structurally powerless, or maybe we don't know how to resolve the conflict. And she argues this is actually counterproductive. Because like the earlier folks, Brown and Morrigan and Ballou, she advocates that we address root causes rather than punishing people. When we feel that unease or nervousness, we need to ask ourselves, what are the root causes of this conflict? Is it that I feel powerless? Am I hurt or otherwise emotionally activated? And we won't always be able to tell because, listen, I know not all of us are all that in touch with our feelings. I'm not always. But also, we've been taught not to identify those root causes. We've learned to not see them, but locate the source of our discomfort on other people, rather than in a system designed to keep us in chains. The source of our discomfort is systems, not individual people. If I think about that original conflict I mentioned, when I said or did something that hurt someone, and that resulted in her working to kick me out of that community, I want to figure out what the root causes were. We were literally 3,000 miles away from each other, doing our work via telephone and email. We were doing emotional work that had immediate impact on our own lives. We were trying to make change in a homophobic system that was regularly and actively harming us. And I know I felt powerless. And sometimes when we feel systemically powerless, we wield power in the only places we can, against each other. And one of the best tools that I've ever learned to address conflict is to reorient from a conflict between people to a problem that we need to address together. So instead of me versus you or us versus them, it is us versus the problem. And that's how we figure it out. That's how we create right relationship and build beloved community, because we need one another to figure it out. My old comrade and I could have said to one another, I want to figure this out with you. I could have apologized, and perhaps we could have repaired what had been damaged. It's not too late, of course. As a UU, I know that I create my own salvation. I just need to look for the opportunity. So I invite you to look for your opportunities as well. What conflicts in your life can you address by teaming up with the other people involved? Who can you invite to figure it out with you? Because we need one another to survive. It bears repeating. We need one another to survive. And right now, today is the time. Because these days, it often feels like the end times. And late stage capitalism and the white cis heteropatriarchy have done a damn fine job isolating us from each other, leading us to believe that we are all islands. I want you to hear, if you only hear me say one thing, it is this. We are not islands. We create our own universal salvation by resisting isolation, by striving for our collective liberation in every breath we take. I need you, beloveds. I need you to survive. May it be so.
All right. One last time today, I invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing together. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child. And we believe in life and in the strength light, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a joy being together, and in the search for peace, maybe we'll finally see even to question truly is an answer.
May we carry the wisdom of interdependence within our hearts, embracing the truth that no one is disposable. Recognizing our shared humanity, may we nurture love, compassion, and transformative justice in ourselves and one another as we navigate the challenges of a world that often isolates us. May we resist the forces that seek to keep us apart. In the spirit of interdependence and in the service of our collective liberation, go forward to create a world where love and justice reign. Amen. Blessed be.